What does TF2 need? I get asked that a lot, and to be honest, the game's got no shortage of imperfections, so let's humor that question today. If you get the highest rank in competitive mode, you get this badge. That's it. If anything, it's actually a bad idea to get this rank because it means your queue is going to take longer than an actual match itself. Therefore, I think high priority right now would be incentivizing competitive play. For example, you should get a badge variant of your competitive rank to wear on your loadouts. Similar to the dueling badge, it would change based on your level. I feel like this would bring your rank a bit more prestige rather than just being something nobody else ever sees. I think another cool concept would be an untradeable unusual similar to the map stamp hat, where the higher your rank the more particles it has on it, or maybe something similar to the chess hat which changes with a kill streak, but instead this would change with your rank. Also, competitive contracts, similar to existing ones, but they'd need to be pretty vague, like cap X points or kill X amount of people, because if you make them class or weapon specific, you're missing the entire point of strategizing in competitive. Like, seriously guys, what's the plan here? Electroshock therapy? That said, contracts would give people an incentive to play matches and reward you even if you lose. I'd also like to note here that Overwatch has a seasonal reward system where you can cash out competitive points for golden weapons. However, developer Jeff Kaplan actually went on record saying he regrets this system because it makes a lot of people play competitive not to get better, but just to earn the items. I think this is worth noting because depending on how we reward ranked play, it could give the wrong idea you don't need to take it seriously, or that the reward is more important than each individual match, so let's tread lightly on this topic. There's a lot of ways to go about incentivizing ranked play for the average player, and I don't think there's a definitively correct answer, so comment what you'd personally like. All weapons should be unlocked by default in competitive mode, while staying the way they are now in casual, where you need to obtain them first. It's really frustrating when you're locked out of using an alternative strategy because you don't own the items. The gunboats allow a soldier to lose less health per rocket jump, letting them play more aggressively. The mini-sentry turns engineer from a defensive class into one that's more viable for pushing. The crits creek replaces Uber with temporary critical hits, letting a team move up faster. All of these options would be completely off the table to someone who doesn't own them. Now, the counter argument here is this psychological concept known as overchoice, which basically means when presented with too many options, people find it more difficult to make a decision, and by giving new players every single weapon, they might not know what to do and end up picking something bad or not even using any of them whatsoever, which is unideal because TF2 is a game of constantly shifting strategy where learning the items helps improve your ability. And now here's the kicker. Valve is definitely aware of this problem because 2 years ago they put out class starter packs giving you all the weapons, but it's $40 for what totals out to be less than $1 worth of items. $10 if you count name tags. I don't get why they do this, because you can easily monetize this game without screwing over new players. I mean, hats are the main reason any of us know the game exists, but this seems like a really bad solution to a much larger problem. Next, and this is going to be a little controversial, but I think there needs to be more variation in the ranked map pool. And I'm not freaking talking turbine here, alright? That crap needs to go now. Right now, the only modes people can really agree on are 5CP and King of the Hill. And if you've ever tuned in a competitive stream, you know 5CP is the real King of the Hill if you know what I'm talking about. It's played so much! And listen, in my opinion, 5CP works, but it's boring as heck when it's back. People complain about the 6's meta being non-changing, when in reality, that could be changed all through the inclusion of more map types. I think such variation would be largely healthy for competitive overall. New players could more comfortably off-class on these maps, like for example Pyro on King of the Hill or Spy on Attack Defend. So let's try more King of the Hill, like Brazil. Let's try more Attack Defend, like Gravel Pit. Spectators will get to see more diverse gameplay and strategy, and while it could be a catastrophic stalemate failure, it would be healthy for the scene, and in case I haven't made it clear, remove Turbine already. Just do it. We tried it. It doesn't work. Make it go. The counter argument here is that not many competitive maps are viable outside of 5CP. Like for example, King of the Hill Product is really the only one you'll ever see played, but Valve also has the ability to rebalance classes and maps, so I think it's completely within their grasp to change this. Also, I want to talk about random crits. There's a decade-long discussion on this. I'd like to propose a secondary solution to this problem. You open casual, tick a box, and now it's 6v6 casual mode. No random crits, no random bullet spread, stopwatch timer. This casual 6s mode would allow people to learn the format without jumping head on into competitive. I reckon a lot of you have never queued for comp because it seems a little daunting, and that's the problem I'd like a solution to be found for. I'd also like to see in-game support of a bird's eye view. I really like this when spectating other games, but TF2 isn't built to allow them right now, and the closest you'll get is semi-aerial shots.
Oh, my bad. I'll tab for like 1 second.
If by some miracle TF2 manages to catch itself a competitive scene in 2019, I'd really like to see Valve step in more with tournament support. They can do this a couple ways. 1. Drop a lump sum into an existing prize pool like the Insomnia series in Europe or the Rewind series in America. Or 2, and the more likely option, they add items to the game where revenue is sent into said prize pools. Dota has this system where you can buy a battle pass and 25% of proceeds go towards the international tournament. Imagine that same concept with TF2 contracts or item crates, with a portion of proceeds funding TF2 tournaments. These basic ideas would go really far in supporting the scene without pressuring Valve to shoulder all of the work, which I've come to learn they absolutely despise. For the love of all that is funky, update the default settings already. Default FOV should be 90, not 70. Default interp should be 0, not 0.1. Default hit numbers should add up, not be individual. It's 2018, these settings are a decade old, let's catch up with the modern world. Additionally, and I guess this is preference, I'd like to see the ability to turn off cosmetics client side, or just as close, turn off everything besides hats and medals. Maybe this is harder to code than I would expect, but you all know my stance on cosmetics. I'm fine with them in the game, they're healthy for the economy, but they make the game run awfully, and frankly, they're kinda hard to look at these days. Oh, and how about an updated tutorial? Current one is horrible, it's not hard to make, come on. I really like this image. Heavy has no real alternative strategy right now, and I don't count this thing. I don't care what anybody says. I'd like to see an alternative playstyle for the weapons guy. A shield would be cool, but it could also be really unbalanced, so we'll see. I'd also like a secondary which could rival the sandwich in viability, because right now it's just too good for healing teammates to replace with any shotgun. That said, I don't expect anything, because it's just too good. This next suggestion is kinda stupid, but hear me out. First-person animations. To illustrate my point, I give you this. Similar to weapon inspect animations, I think hand taunts would be a fun way to kill time in-game. I've got my own ideas. I call them finger guns.
Bang! Boom!
Thumb trick.
I am a freaking wizard!
Como no! Bazooka! And these last few points are really long, but hear me out. Remove random crits, fix the replay system, remove the pyro. Actually, never mind, that was pretty quick. Bring back the arcs. They were fun. Remember all those hints at MVM? Meet the Spy? What happened to those? Bring back secret blog post links. Remember the soldier medals? The lore images? What happened to them? Bring back behind the scenes blog posts. It's way easier to wait for the next update if you have an idea of what they're thinking about. These things were honestly my favorite reads, but they're so rare now. And I know they've been told that for 5 years now, but let me dream. Also, more TF2 shorts would be cool. No? Okay, worth a shot. Valve has stated they'd like all of their development teams to eventually be working on the same engine, the fabled Source 2! I mean, just look at those graphics! Okay, this one is extremely unlikely, and would be unfathomably too much work for the TF team to ever handle, but I can dream. Lastly, and I guess this is my closing point, I just want new developers. TF2 is probably my favorite game of all time and still has all this underlying potential that it's just never gonna reach because of how Valve functions at a corporate level. And I get it, they've worked on the game almost as long as I've been alive, but at the same time, it doesn't take that much work to communicate every now and then with your community. I've watched TF2 get stuck in this repeating pattern of radio silence from the developers starts to make the community worried, to the community gets fed up and calls the developers out, to months later the developer acts better for 2 weeks, to the community forgiving the developers, back to radio silence. Which is funny, because you could just apply this pattern to Valve as a whole. It is not that difficult to speak to your community. TF2 is a victim of many things. It was born too early, it's been mishandled a few times, and it's feeling neglected. What TF2 needs is attention, and I don't think I need to tell you if I expect it to ever get it. That's the video, but before you go, there's one last cosmetic I'd like to show you. I call it Funkmeister's Flare. Equipable on all classes and available now from the Manco store. Citation, not currently available in-game. But purchasing it will help me make more videos, which I will be doing more of again. This shirt features my channel mascot Bommy in all his glory. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.